fine Calypsonians tonight who holds PhD in African history and musicology from the University of Michigan in '93, former Calypso King of TNT. Two selections this evening. The first one, Misconception. Would you please welcome contestant number 7, Hollis Liverpool, better known as Jobless.
Now that this Calypso show is being heard on video, I'm taking the opportunity to remove some false images of we. So all you people listening out there in London, France, Boston, Canada, there are many misconceptions out there. All you just hear that affair, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, brother. We are not a part of Jamaica, though we sing reggae, that and we culture is pan and kaiso there. You hear? So when you hear Harry Belafonte and Poindexter, that is not kaiso, that is brandy mixed with water. And don't you think that Mighty Sparrow is the only king of kaiso? There's also Kitchener, the grand master of Calypso. Tonight there are 8 Trinis here in this ring, but we are not the only ones who could sing. So overall must bring in Hitch and Black Stallion. Oh yeah, so it's time you know the right things about Trinidad. Alive. Misconception. Don't worry with all them set at Trini posing in Canada as refugee. That's a misconception they're fooling you with, so as to get citizenship. And all them criminals up in Brooklyn, it's not Trinidadians doing the killing. We don't fight, we don't fuss, and when we cuss, we just say Paul. And that's all. We go to New York to shop or to stay. We are not Haitians, we don't run away. We are not from Bosnia where men die like mice. We come from paradise. And like England, we have a female speaker with some clout. Our female speaker does watch big men and kick them out. And if you see we police marching, we'll be there against Prime Minister Manning. For carnival, them and Manning, liming and drinking. Abu Bakr staged the coup there, but Abu Bakr we no longer fear. But this year, he was in the audience sipping ginger beer. So it's time you know the right things about Trinbago. Alive. Misconceptions.
Misconception.
Beautiful. Calypsonian Mighty Arrow is restarted soca. Oh no, that honor belongs to Rash Shorty, a resident of TNT. And when you hear Pan on Sesame Street, It's not Bert and Ernie who beat him sweet. That steel band is the creation of our land, not Japan. We are the only country in the world, I say, where government ministers just raise the pay. And as Calypsonians launch the attack, they just pay back. And Americans say, Arsenio Hall is the best comedian. But I say, he can't touch the shoes of our Tommy, Joseph, and Sprangala. And if you see on our TV a man with his neck under a lady, he's not assaulting she, he's just dancing the donkey. Michael Jackson, please come down here. Change your misconceptions about being fair. Come and play mass in Reason and get back your color. Oh yes, so it's time you know the right things about Trinbago. Alive. Misconceptions.
Misconception.
Rumba. Uh-huh. I know some of you will give me talk about misconceptions of New York. Well, the first misconception about New York is that the Caribbean is saltfish and New York is pork. And every Spanish man is Puerto Rican. That's a misconception. And Trinidadians hate Jamaicans. That's a wrong assumption. Him like soca man. Another misconception in the USA is that every Rasta man could sing reggae. And anybody giving you a fast tempo, that is calypso. Oh no. And like England, we have a female speaker with some clout. Our female speaker does with big men and kick them out. And if you think Tylenol could pass your headache better than we lemongrass, the show the worms where to pass. O.J. Simpson, he is guilty. He killed his wife, murder first degree. That's a misconception. Wait upon the jury. Oh yes, don't hear the talk. Misconceptions of New York.
Misconception. Misconception.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Oh yes, my boy talked us. Hollis Liverpool, Dr. Hollis Liverpool, their misconceptions. He talked there about O.J. Simpson, who was moved on to the great beyond. Our condolences to O.J. Simpson's family. He remained the brother. I remained the brother. I knew where I was. I knew where I was the day he was set free by the jury. I was at Piney Branch Road and University Boulevard in Hydesville, Maryland. I came out of my car and I thought I was the only one. But there were other black people came out and we danced and we cried because we felt when O.J. Simpson was on trial there, every black man was on trial. He was not always loyal to us, but that's how things go. Yes, I remember where I was on that day when he was set free. Good evening to you and welcome to Politics 101 on a Friday night. I'm here by myself tonight and we're going to be talking some real serious talk. Dr. Adams is not able to make it here tonight and we are going to be chatting. I mentioned earlier in the week that I think we in the opposition are getting it wrong. We are getting it wrong in terms of our messaging. You know, I think we have to talk at two levels, and we have to talk to two audiences which may overlap. I think we have to talk to the problems, the issues that are facing African Guyanese. It is clear now the entire world has concluded that African Guyanese are under the gun. We face extinction. A friend of mine I was talking to today said we face erasure. And that's a real issue. We are no longer just speaking in the wilderness. African Guyanese face extinction, face erasure, social extinction, economic extinction, political extinction in Guyana. And we've got to call a spade and speak to that directly. We also have to speak at the level of working people, poor people of all races, because poor people are being squeezed under this government, which has shown that it favors the rich. It favors the rich. It's going to throw some crumbs at the poor. It's going to manipulate the poor. But it doesn't witness for the poor or govern for the poor. And so we have those two narratives that we have to find a way to balance. I think we in the opposition tend to favor the second narrative. That is to say, the government is against poor people. And we try to run away from the first narrative, and that is that black people are under the gun. Black people are being targeted by this government through their policies for erasure and extinction. And we have to speak straight to that. And I intend to speak to both issues and at both levels. At the level of race, the condition of black people, because black people are being targeted. And I am not going to shut up about that. And I'm not going to speak with water in my mouth, well, black people suffering, but other races suffering. I am saying black people are suffering in a particular kind of way, and I'm going to expand on that. And I'm also saying that poor people of all races are also under the gun. So for me, it is not one message or the other. It's both messages. And I'm not going to smother the first message, and that is that black people face extinction and erasure in Guyana. We got to do something about it. The elections are coming, and we're getting into elections mode, and it's what they call the silly season, and we're beginning to talk silly. And forgetting that there is serious talk, and there is serious business. From now until the election, it's going to be a long, hot summer. A long, hot summer. The question of racial discrimination against African Guyanese must be put at the front of the agenda. I am putting it there. It is not about racial discrimination as against class discrimination. It's both. But I'm not going to allow the argument for class discrimination to smother racial discrimination. The world has seen it, and the world is pronouncing on it. And we who feel it, we who know it, must speak truth to power. It's going to be a long, hot summer. It's going to be a long, hot summer. Discrimination must go. It's going to be a long, hot summer.
Our champion is dead and gone, and there is nobody else to lead us on. Martin Luther King is dead and gone. Now who do we have to lead us on? As a civil rights leader, he stood for his right and was assassinated one holy April night. Well, now that his precious blood was shed, Plenty gonna live and plenty gonna dead. It's gonna be a long summer. Discrimination has gone too far. Luther King is dead, and now this we cannot avoid. Segregation must be destroyed. An apostle of peace was he. He gave his life for racial equality. During his struggles to try, and he was lost. He was awarded that coveted Nobel Prize. Brutally beaten and jailed many times. Peaceful demonstrations were his only crime. Yet still he walked, I said he walked in the footsteps of Jesus, and just like Christ, he died for us. It's gonna be a long summer. Discrimination has gone too far. Luther King is dead, and now this we cannot avoid. Segregation must be destroyed. An honorable, peaceful, and noble man. He was the greatest civil rights leader in the land. Assassinated at the age of 39. He was murdered while he was still in his prime. But he had a dream for America in his plan. Where the blacks and the whites will walk together hand in hand. And live in unity as one. Though he is dead, I say that dream lives on. It's gonna be a long summer. Discrimination has gone too far. Luther King is dead, and now this we cannot avoid. Segregation must be destroyed. No longer will we bow to any man. No longer will we live in subjection. Oh, we have suffered too much in the past. No more will we accept second class. Equality, I know one day we got to get. Oh yes, it is as inevitable as death. So let us unite. Peacefully, we got to be strong. Leave all the violence to Stokely Carmichael or it's Rap Brown. It's gonna be a long summer. Discrimination has gone too far. Luther King is dead, and now this we cannot avoid. Segregation must be destroyed. No longer will we live in subjection. No longer will we bow to any man. No longer will we live in subjection. Oh, we have suffered too much in the past. No more must be destroyed. No longer will we bow to any man. No longer will we live in subjection. Oh, we have suffered too much in the past. No more will we accept second class. Equality, I know one day we got to get. Oh yes, it is as inevitable as death. So let us. Segregation must be destroyed. No longer will we bow to any man. No longer will we live in subjection. Oh, we have suffered too much in the past. No more will we accept second class. Equality, I know one day we got to get. Oh yes, it is as inevitable as death. So let us unite. Peacefully, we got to be strong. Must be destroyed. No longer will we bow to any man. No longer longer will we live in subjection. Oh, we have suffered too much in the past. No more will we accept second class. Equality, I know one day we got to get. Oh yes, it is as inevitable as death. So let us unite peacefully. We got to be strong. Leave all the violence to Stokely Carmichael or it's wrapped round. It's gonna be a long summer. Discrimination has gone too far. Luther King is dead, and now this we cannot avoid. Segregation must be destroyed. Oh, no, 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 la, 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 la.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. I hope it's heard loud and clear. No longer shall we be second-class citizens. No longer shall we be subjected to any man. Equality we gotta get. It is as sure as death. Good evening to you again and welcome to Politics 101. It's going to be a long, hot summer as we move forward deep into 2024 and into 2025. And as we begin to talk about the next election, we are making it very clear. It's going to be a long, hot summer. We've got to make it hot. The sun is hot in Guyana, I know. But the heat that I'm talking about is a different kind of heat, and we got to steel ourselves. We've got to steel ourselves. The mighty sparrow spoke for us there. It's going to be a long, hot summer. No longer shall we live as second-class citizens in a country that we made first class. All those who talk about what they came to do and what they didn't come to do, when they came, we prepared a place for them. We prepared a place for them by our sweat and our blood. They say that our brothers and sisters came to make money. They could not make money in a swamp. They could not make money in a wild coast. It's going to be a long, hot summer. And I'm not making sport. I don't know about the rest of the opposition. But my narrative, our narrative, is going to be a two-pronged narrative. Racial discrimination against African Guyanese. And class discrimination against the poor of all races. We didn't go to school not to be able to explain ourselves. I am breaking with my brothers and sisters on the opposition bench who want to stifle the narrative of racial discrimination against Africans. I'm raising it to the mountaintop. No longer will we be second-class citizens. No longer will we be subjected to any man. What do we want? Equality. We're not asking for more than anybody else. We want equality. And we're going to get it. And we're going to get it if we want it. And if we want it, we're going to fight for it. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. We're talking it up here tonight and we are launching the long, hot summer. Brother Bob Marley said, we've got to disturb our neighbor. If our neighbor wants to subject us and wants to make us second-class citizens, we've got to make him uncomfortable. It's going to be a long, hot summer. What I love about Guyanese and West Indian is as soon as I start to say that, the brother Brother Claude said you're sounding like Dr. Martin Luther King. Our people know their history. And sure enough, I was going to play, and I played the Mighty Sparrow tribute to Martin Luther King, and I'm using the chorus from there. I love Guyanese. I love our people. We know our story well. It's going to be a long, hot summer. This election has to be also about the condition of poor people of all races. You all hear me playing here? I'm walking on two legs. God bless me with two. And I'm walking on two. This coming election has to be about the discrimination, political, economic, social, and cultural discrimination against African Guyanese, and also about discrimination against poor people of all races. I am breaking with that jiggery pokery nonsense that comes from the opposition bench. Yes, black people are suffering, but other people from other races are suffering. That is a fact. But it has to be explained. The government pays meager wages to all workers. All workers. Workers of all races. The government pays bad wages and salaries to workers of all races. Last night on this program, you heard Professor Clive Thomas says, and I hope you all paid attention. When we're talking about the cost of living and the high prices, the problem is not the high prices. The problem is the low price of your labor. The low price of your labor. And it's because your labor, meaning wages and salaries, are low, that is why the prices are high. If your wages and salary raise, then the prices will go down because you have more money to afford what's on there. So when we are quarreling about the cost of living, the quarrel must not be about the high prices. The quarrel must be about the low wages. And who pays low wages? The government. You see, when we quarrel about high prices, the lady selling callaloo and balanje and pumpkin in the market, we taking out our wrath on her. But she got to make a living. She's not the culprit. The culprit is the government that is not paying us enough wages so we can buy the lady pumpkin. And the lady, but I want you all hear this thing here tonight. Abiyaganga, Nancy, Tory, a Tory, and Tory make all with the wrath there. Nancy, Tory, we attack tonight. Nancy Tory not get bad word, and this story here is about the facts of life. It's not a lady that's selling the sappadilla. It's not the lady that's selling the soursop. The lady selling the sappadilla and soursop has to compete with people who buy in ice apple from next to nothing and bringing it in Guyana to compete with cheese sappadilla. It is the price of wages. The high price of the greens and the vegetables and the fruits and the grocery. The high price is because we wage is low. Nancy Tory, a Tory and Tory make all of it ras there. Are you listening to this story? Good. So, let's talk about wages. The government is paying meager wages to all poor people. Amerindians, Indians, Portuguese, black people. I don't know if they get poor Chinese. Well, if they get poor Chinese, they too getting poor wages. But there is the story. If you compare the wages of the sugar workers, the low wages of the sugar workers, with the low wages of the public servants, the teachers, the nurses, the army and the police. If you compare the low wages of the sugar workers with the low wages of the army and the police and the nurses and the government workers and the teachers, the wages of the public servants are low. The low wages of the public servants are lower than the low wages of the sugar workers. Why? When the sugar workers say, the government meet with their union and they tap them up. The public servants, on the other hand, bawling and hollering, oh me mama, oh God, oh Lord. And the government will not meet with their union. Tory and Tory make all of it there tonight. All of it there tonight. Are you listening to this story good? Because I want you all to repeat it wherever you all go. All workers are paid bad wages. But the wages paid to public servants are worse than the wages paid to other categories of workers. What do sugar workers have mostly in common? They are East Indian. What do public servants have mostly in common? They're African. Who vote mostly for the PPP? Sugar workers. Who the public servant votes mostly for? The opposition. It is the government that makes policy. It is the government that meets with the sugar unions and top up the sugar workers. It is the government that refuse to meet with the public service unions and kick down the public servants. So they're tapping up the sugar workers and kicking down the public servants. So all poor people are suffering. All poor people have bad wages, but African poor people wages are worse than the others. What does that mean? It means that when the sugar worker and the teacher go in the market to buy, the sugar worker get a little bit more. They get more to spend. It means the high prices and the cost of living affecting them differently from the teacher and the nurse and the government worker. All you hear me? Nancy Tory, a Tory and Tory make all of me ras there tonight. Are you hearing me good? How do you move from being a poor worker into the middle class. You move there when you get excess money. Let me put it in raw terms. When you dry your salary and you go in the market and you don't buy and you pay your rent and you finish off all your expenses, what you get left is excess money. You can then take that excess money and invest it in a business and then make extra money. You're now accumulating wealth. So to move you from being poor into the middle class. If your wages and salary are below the prices in the market, you always owing, you ain't got no excess money, so you can't move in the middle class. That is why we are saying black people are targeted for erasure. We can't get out of the poor class if the government has its way. Because the government is denying us a living wage and in the process denying us excess income so that we can take that excess income, invest it, and create profit, which over time becomes wealth. A Tory and Tory make all of we rash there tonight. The African in Guyana is being denied social mobility. Is being denied social mobility. And if you can't rise up the social ladder, you are faced with social extinction. You're faced with social erasure. You are faced with social and racial domination. Because those who got more than you are able to dominate you. Good evening to all my brothers and sisters. Good evening. Good evening, Sister Cookie. Thanks to the contribution. Loyal. Tory and Tory make a ras there tonight. Don't let people tell you that stupid narrative where black people suffering, but Indian people suffering, and these people suffering. That is true, but that doesn't tell the story. They got sufferers who suffer more than other sufferers. Sufferers suffer more than other sufferers. Black people, instead of being allowed to rise up the social ladder, we are pushed to what the Americans call the underclass. We are below the poor class. Because after a time, poverty accumulates. And when poverty accumulates, it don't push you up, you push you down. A Tory and Tory maker with there tonight. I want you all to hear me because black people just get into talking some nonsense. I love you all. But sometimes you all listen to the wrong people and repeat the wrong thing. This election is about discrimination and the threat of extinction and erasure of the African and discrimination against poor people of all races. And you know what? Only black people can liberate themselves. Because everybody trying to move up. And if you there at the bottom, those who are a little bit above you, go try to keep you down. When Gawu get called to the table to sit down and negotiate better wages for sugar workers. God don't say, oh God, black people suffering too, Mr. Jack Dio. Call the PSU, call the GTU and sit down with them. No, God wouldn't say that. God wouldn't say that. God wouldn't say, oh, all poor people suffering. And man, why you giving we a top up? And you aren't giving teachers a top up? No, they don't say that. They take the top up. As they should. They should. But we, who they're down at the bottom, our leaders talk that nonsense, arrant nonsense. Black people suffering, but other races suffering too. That's a fact. But you got to explain the thing. Tory and Tory make a be ras there tonight. Black people are faced with extinction in Guyana. And it's an extinction that will come out of the policies. If black people don't have excess money to invest, how the damn well they're going to get into entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship, of course, is about taking money, investing the money, and making money upon the money. If you don't get money to invest, or you're going to make money upon getting invest, you have to have opportunities, and your opportunities will come when you have excess money. When you go to the bank asks you for collateral. Collateral, Tory and Tory make a bit there tonight. Where you getting the collateral from? And if you don't get the collateral, you can't get the loan. So wages, you aren't getting excess wages, which is what you call seed money. You aren't getting loan because you aren't get collateral. And then people walk around and say black people can't do business. And the government believes that. When it parted, I'm going to tell you all the story because we're going to talk about it next week. When it parted, went to the United Nations last year and complained about discrimination against African Guyanese, the government responded. And you all will be shocked to know what the government said. The government said, yes, Walter Rodney Point, my brother. Walter Rodney Point. The government said that the reason black people in the condition they are is because after emancipation, they made bad business choices. They planned food to eat. They didn't plan food to export. This is coming from the government. We can deal with it more next week. They say black people make bad decisions, business decisions, when they come out of slavery. They use the land to plant food to eat. They didn't plant rice and other things to export. And it is because of those bad business decisions, that's why they're where they're there. They invested their money in rundown sugar estates rather than invest their money in land where they can plant rice. This is coming from your government. I'm going to have the people here, the pilot people, next week to talk more about this. When I saw that thing, me want dead. Because this is not coming from Ravi Dev or any of the so-called Indians. This is coming from the government of Guyana. The government. And if the government is saying you're poor because you made bad business decision after 1838. Then the government is absolving of itself of any responsibility to get you out of poverty. Because they say your poverty has to do with some inherent weakness, some intellectual weakness that you didn't have the sense in 1838. You go and buy broke down estate, you plant food for eat rather than plant food for sell overseas. That's what your government saying. And therefore, if you do that, you're stupid. You can't do business. And if you can't do business, why the hell would our government invest in you when it comes to business? Narrative leads to prejudice, or prejudice arises out of narrative, and prejudice plus power equal racism. When we say this government is racist, we are talking about its policies. And its policies arise out of its reading of history. You all sit down and you all hear Irfan Ali and Jack Dio talk about slavery and reparations for slavery. And you all say, oh, they're here, they're nice, they're good, look that up on we side. They're talking about reparations for slavery. Because for them, reparations for slavery gotta come from the white man. Because the white man, they enslave we. They're not talking about reparations after slavery. When the post-emancipation state mess up with black people entrepreneurial opportunities, mess up their business, refuse to give them license, flood their fields, it means that reparations will have to come from the post-emancipation state, as I and others have been calling for. And the PPP government is saying no. The Indianists are saying no. Reparation must only be for slavery. And once you say reparation for slavery, that's a white man business. If you say the structural discrimination continued after slavery, then the post-slavery state will have to give reparations. And then what did they do next? They said they lump reparations for indentureship. So they're saying post-slavery reparations has to go to indentured laborers, not to Africans, not to enslaved people, formerly enslaved people. Sisters and brothers, you all see how narrative arises out of prejudice, or narrative informs, or prejudice informs the narrative, prejudice informs the narrative, or prejudice arises out of the narrative, and then that prejudice linked with state power becomes racism, and the racial discrimination from the state and the government that we're talking about arise from that narrative. Tory and Tory make a ras there tonight. Black man, you all gotta stop making fools of yourselves. If your leaders don't want to talk about race, some of us are willing to talk about it. Some of us are willing to risk a couple thousand votes in order to defend the dignity of black people and prevent black people from being erased. I am prepared to do that. But when we look wrong, all you gotta be there with us. When I look wrong, all you gotta be there with me. We have suffered too long, too long, too long, too long. And we always find a reason to justify our own suffering. Our own suffering. We always find a It's going to be a long, hot summer. It's going to be a long, hot summer. Discrimination has got to end.
Our champion is dead and gone, and there is nobody else to and live in unity as one. Though he is dead, I say that dream lives on. It's gonna be a long summer. Discrimination has gone too far. Luther King is dead, and now this we cannot avoid. Segregation must be destroyed. No longer will we bow to any man. No longer will we live in subjection. Oh, we have suffered too much in the past. No more will we accept second class. Equality, I know one day we got to get. Oh yes, it is as inevitable as death. So let us unite peacefully. We got to be strong.
Let us unite. Let us unite. Let us unite. We must stop playing games, political games, with the future of our people. What have we done wrong? We bend over to show love, sometimes to our detriment. What have we done wrong? What we have done wrong is that we have refused to call a spade a spade. And our political leaders are partly responsible for this, largely responsible, because they feed us that nonsense narrative. Yes, we are all sufferers. All poor people are sufferers. But black people are suffering in a different way. Black people suffering are leading us downwards, down, down, down. If when we go in the market, our wages are 6.5%, 6.5% of nothing is nothing. And when we go in the market and we look at the prices are not the enemy. The enemy is the price that the government is paying us for our wages. And we cussing the lady who put on a $20 punchy balanje and a $40 punchy pumpkin. And it's not she, because she got to live too. She got to live too. It's the government which is not paying us for our wages, not sitting down with our unions. Those of you who see the teachers out there and talking about the teachers must go back because you all children got to write the exam, and the teachers are fighting against extinction. You all are not going to get anybody to teach you all children in the long term if teachers are become extinct or they leave the country and go away. Go away. And when they go away, they bring in Bangladeshi. Damn it. Black people, wake up. They pressure you all, beat you all. Are you going? And when are you going? They bring other people in and pay them 10 times more than they pay you all. I'm not saying people must not go away. Man shall not live by bread alone. You got to go where the grass is greener. But I'm saying, look at the grand plan. Look at the grand plan. Shut down the nurses' school. Where? Linden. Bulldoze houses. Where? Linden. And you get some black men in Linden are walking about the place in that blessed city and talking about development when the government is presiding over the underdevelopment of your mama, your daddy, your sissy. And because you as an individual driving a car and living in a big house, you're fooling yourself that that's development. What kind of fool is you? My brother Dick Gregory would ask, what kind of fool is you? Black people are faced with extinction and erasure. And until we prep ourselves for a long, hot summer, discrimination will not end. It will multiply. It will multiply. I beg pardon. I beg pardon for those who may take offense to my little cuss word tonight. Tory make away ras there. When me use ras, me ain't cussing. I using ras with love. And changing the meaning, the bad meaning of ras to good meaning. All of we ras there, Tory and Tory make away ras there. Red nigger, black nigger, short nigger, bright nigger, all same nigger. There was a story, the true story, of a black man during the indentureship period. Mr. Johnson. He was rich. He made money during the indentureship. And when the system changed from indentureship to segregation, and then they start to pass segregation laws, the laws took away his money. And those who the PPP are giving some crumbs, when the laws are passed to justify our erasure and extinction, them shiny car will mean nothing to you. You will be consumed also. Your mouth will be muzzled by the food, the poison food you're eating. Sisters and brothers, let's get this story real. I am prepared to lose 10,000 votes in order to save the dignity and the humanity of 400,000 Africans. Are you hearing me good? Because I want you all to separate me from the pack. I am prepared to lose 10,000 crossover votes in order to save the dignity, the humanity of 400,000 Africans. And that plane, it can be a long hot summer. We are giving notice. We are giving notice. Black people, nobody's going to fight it for you. Our brothers and sisters paid homage, as we should do. Our brother GHK Lal was on air early this week, and he testified on our behalf. And he touched us to the core. And my brothers are asking, are there more GHK Lals, Are there more GHK Lals? And my answer is that we have to create more GHK Lals. And the reason we create it is to be steadfast in advocating our own case And they said to Dr. King that we have to go and talk to white people to bring them over on our struggle. Dr. King said no. We have to let white people see the suffering of black people. And that will move their spirits. And if they have a spirit, they will be moved. And for us to create more GHK LALs, we have to stand up for ourselves, erect. And when we stand up erect, then others with a conscience on the other side will stand up erect with us. We can't expect them to stand up erect while we are going about the place talking nonsense. I have no shame in saying to you, if you live in BV, if you live in Buxton, if you live in South Georgia, if you live in Linden, pay that extra $100 to somebody selling in your village than to walk in the hot sun to go across to the next village to get it $100 cheaper. That extra $100 you are paying in your village will circulate there. The lady you pay the extra $100 to buy mango will go in the shop in the village and spend that extra $100 buying flour or sugar. And the man who's selling you the flour and the sugar will take that money and pay the barber for cutting hair in the village. Your money circulate there and it benefit all of us. I don't give a damn how they call me racist. Bite in your community, you're not being racist. That is the first principle of economics. That's what they teach at university. All countries, all entities, the first thing they do is to build their own economies. And then what is left surplus, then they trade it outside. Buy what is produced in your community. Because you got to go outside of your community to buy what you don't produce. But if you're going out to your community to buy where you just produce and where you don't produce, your money is not circulating in your own damn community. When you're the teacher and you're giving it extra lessons, if you, the teacher, don't spend your extra dollar buying gasoline or buying okra in your own village, then that extra $100 is going to come back to pay you for your lesson. But you going outside and spend your money and expect people to spend their money inside on you. What kind of fool is we? And you all, oh, you're going to look bad, you're a racist. Yeah, David Hines preaching racism. When he say you must buy from you, and I say buy from your own what you produce, and what you don't produce, you buy outside. Everybody crying now, I go in the supermarket and okra coming from the Middle East. Why we crying? Why we crying? Because we all believe in the principle that what you produce, you don't import. But when David Hines said, buy what you produce in Buxton, buy what you produce in Belladrum, buy what you produce in Den Amstel, David Hines is a racist. But when people say, oh God, don't buy Trinidad sorrel, when we get sorrel, they're not racist. But when David Hines said, buy it in your community, it's the same goddamn principle. That when you're black like me, and you talk like me, the first thing they say is a racist, and they know you're not a racist. What they're trying to say is that you're dangerous. It's going to be a damn long, hot summer. We ain't playing. We ain't playing. We're not playing. I am helping. I hope to prepare black people to live in this new Guyana, but not to live as second-class citizens. Blackout. Blackout. Blackout left, right, and center. Black people suffering blackout. Poor people suffering blackout. Those who got the wherewithal get generator. And what's causing the blackout? Is overloading the damn system. Firstly, the demand for energy outstrip the supply of energy. You can't produce the amount of energy you want to produce if you don't have an energy policy. If you go in and pick up a kind of whole operator, run the place and bring it in. Blackout is directly related to the increased demand for energy and the inability of the government to recognize that imperative and to prepare the country for that, because they're too busy trying to take the money and divvy it up and share it up to their friends and their family. And who suffers most? The poor people. Poor people. And who among the poor people that suffers the worst? Black people. Black people. When the going gets hot, it is those who are at the bottom that suffers the most. I want you all to think very seriously. And I want you all to tell your political leaders, tell them, you all don't want to hear about other people. There are things and there are ways in which black people suffering is peculiar to black people. And then there are areas of suffering that black people share with Amerindian and Indians and other ethnic groups. We share some of the suffering, but a lot of the suffering we don't share is we alone got fetch the burden. Black workers, public servants, their wages are the most depressed wages in Guyana. Why do you think they don't want that little 6-year-old girl sing but the 6.5%? Sisters and brothers, we got to get real in Guyana. Because when we look around in another 10 years, we would be so weakened that they might as well put the chains on our feet again. Right now, they're chaining our minds. Chaining our minds. We're afraid to say African Guyanese. We're afraid to say black. We spend more time talking about crossover votes than to improving literacy among our own people so that they can go and register and then go and vote. Part of the low registration in our black communities has to do with the fact that a lot of our young people can't read and write, and we know it. And the government knows it. And the government wants to keep it like that. They want us to be low-wage workers. Sweep the floor. Flip the burger. Oh God. Burger King come in. Let me go and get to work. Flip the burger. Somebody has to flip the burger. And we all have to share the flipping of the burger. But when only one race of people flipping the burger, something is radically wrong. Something is radically wrong. Sisters and brothers, this struggle is real, and we got to make up our mind that it's going to be a long, hot summer. A long, hot summer. And we got to talk to our political leaders. They have to come off that nonsense. And you all have to be frank with them and let them know your vote means something. They can't take your vote and use it to trade away your dignity. For what? For what? A few thousand crossover votes? I'd love for us to get 50,000 crossover votes. I love for that. But what is the price? What price are we prepared to pay for that crossover vote? That's the question. We got crossover vote in my own community. A lot of the young people say, you are there on nonsense, you are there on stupidness. A good 25% of our people feel we there on shit. We there on skin up. And we're not thinking about getting them to cross over and come over into the voting column. We're going and looking for crossover from outside. I am not saying we shouldn't look for crossover outside. You don't get me wrong. If you all can show me 5,000 crossover, I want 10 times that. But then ask me, David, what price you're prepared to pay? You're prepared to pay it with the dignity and the economic well-being of black people? Oh no. No. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. It's only black people who get bulldozed. You all show me an Indian community where the houses were bulldozed. It's only black people, your children get spit in the face by those in high office. Show me an Indian girl or an Indian female lawyer who was thrown in the lockup for talking to her client. It's only it Padaji money get taken away. You all show me any Mahasabha whose money get taken away by the government. It's only black people by children get shoot in their sleep and shoot down in broad daylight. Listen the names: Orrin Boston, Peter Hadley, Quindon Bacchus. Is not Indian by children, and yet you all go around the place talking about suffering. You go talk to Orrin Boston's wife and tell she that nonsense, that Indian people get suffocated. She's going to ask you, show me an Indian man who the police go and shoot in his sleep in front of the wife and children. What kind of fool is you? You go to them people in Moko and go tell them about something. They will say, show me Enterprise or Enmore, where they go and bulldoze people home and get the police kneel down upon a woman. What kind of fool is you? Tell your leaders, because I telling them, open. I love them. I think we paddle in the same canoe now. But I paddle in different, because I'm not selling black people down the line. My narrative is a dual narrative. Racial discrimination against black people, social discrimination against poor people of all races. I walking on both of my foot. Put the feet aside. Me walk on both of my foot. God give me two. And if God give you two, why you only walking on one? What kind of fool is you? Black people, we make ourselves a fool too much. You hear what the government say? Are we poor? Are we can't do business? Because when we come out of slavery, are we plan food for eat rather than plan food for sell overseas? That's what those people in government think about us. And if they think so about us, they will put in place policy to reflect that thinking. Black people, is story and Tory make all of we ras there tonight. When I was a little boy, I always said, I say, hey, when Indian people sell milk, they don't drink milk. But when black people sell thing, they must sell out the profit. I now understand what they mean by that. It's a cultural stereotype. Cultural stereotype. Cultural stereotype. Cultural stereotype. If you're an agriculturist, if you're a farmer, you had to come and meet farmland. You didn't irrigate it. You didn't dig the canal. Walter Rodney talked about too much 1,000 shovel of earth that were dug by Africans. Are we dig them? Are we dig them? Are we irrigate them? So that you can come and farm and make money, and you get the nerves for tell we that we can't do business. What kind of fool is we black people? That is not an Indian man wrong, the Karna say it. It's the government that is operating in the name of Indian people that is saying that. Indian people got pushed back against their own government. Indian people can fight their cause. And insofar as our cause intersect with the Indian poor people cause and Amerindian poor people cause, we there with them, foot to foot. Because the teachers, the Indian teachers, are there foot to foot with the black teachers because they're suffering as teachers. There's an intersection between Indian teachers suffering and black teachers suffering. But when that Indian teacher looks around our community, she sees a qualitatively different environment from when the black teacher look around his or her community. You all listen to me tonight. Listen to me tonight. Listen to me tonight. Listen to me tonight. This is not about a fight against Indian people. Never was, never will be. It's a fight against an Indian-dominated government whose policies reflect a backward racist thinking that black people are inherently incapacitated. Put another way, are we not up to par? Are we not up to par? Are we come out of slavery and are we going to buy broke down estate? Are we come out of slavery and are we plan food for feed ourselves? Are we plan food for sell overseas? Damn racists. That's what they are. That's what they are. That's what they are. Brother Keith, you're right, and I'm eternally grateful, Brother Keith. We listen to you every night, and I'm eternally grateful. I'm eternally grateful to those who come here every night and ground with us. And we are going to do this together. Our opposition, political leaders, party leaders have to stop, get off their backsides and stop living in a make-believe world and stop pimping black people, because that's what they do. They take us for granted. Now black people go vote for me, no matter what we do, what we say. Our black political leadership has to tell you all that when they get power again, they have to make right with black people, they have to make right with poor people, and they have to make right with all Guyanese. You all hear me? They gotta make right with black people. Because if they get into power, it will be the majority of votes they will get is from black people. They gotta make right with we. They gotta make right with poor people. Because poverty is a scourge. Poverty is hell, said Shadow. And all races suffer from poverty. And then they got to make right with all Guyanese. 3 constituencies. You want to see what the PPP doing? Whatever the PPP does, it makes sure it makes right with Indian people. Because they recognize it's Indian people that vote for them. You hear what Jack Dio said? No matter how them teacher come out there, at the end of the day, they're going to vote for me. And we can sit down and say, he live in cloud 9, he fooling himself. He's not fooling himself, and nothing is wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong if Indian people feel that they have to vote for an Indian government. I don't see that as a sin. But when the Indian government does wrong, you have to be able to say to it, you do wrong. The PPP is looking after Indians. I hear, you all hear the quarrel between the Ravidev group and Ramatar group. Ramatar and Roy saying Jagan was a Marxist. He never deal with race. Ravi Devan saying Jagan wasn't he was anti-American. He didn't embrace Indian, and both of them lying. Jagan embraced Indian and Indians embraced Jagan, and there's no sin in that. Ravi Dev said the other day that is Guyana responsible for black people, saying that the Indian government after the PPP government after 1957 is Indian. He says Guyana make black people feel so black people don't get brains. Guyana come to you all and say, the PPP government is Indian. Is it not the PPP, Dr. Jagan, who said that Indians feel as they're second-class citizens and they feel that they're a minority, and if they go into a federation, they'll become a minority and take Guyana into the federation? Dr. Jagan, who sent a petition to the United Nations against what he called Indian oppression in Guyana. As early as 1952, in Forbidden Freedom, he talked about the oppression of Indians. Dr. Jagan look out for Indians. That's not the only thing he did. He looked out for working people with his Marxism. But he looked out for Indians with his Indian Marxism. His Marxism was an Indian Marxism. And neither side want to accept that. Of course, they pivot now from Indian Marxism to Indian capitalism. But the Indian is there. The Indian is there. Whether it's capitalism, Marxism, or so, the Indian is there. But they want to tell David Hines and people like me, stop talking about black people. Why we can't be one? Of course we are one. We are one. But we are several parts of that one. Some came here against their will. Some came for betterment according to what he named. Some got opportunities and some didn't get opportunities. We are one, but we are different parts of the same one. Black people, listen to your humble servant here tonight. Listen to me tonight. Get real. Whether you're rich Indian, rich black man, or nigger, whatever we want to call ourselves, white nigger, red nigger, black nigger, Georgetown nigger, Linden nigger, country nigger, all of we are one nigger, a Tory and Tory make all of we ras there. Are we ras there in this boat? We have to recognize that we've been pushed down. We've been faced with extinction. We have been faced with extinction. My sister says we have been faced with erasure. 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 I love you all so much, as I love all my fellow Guyanese and West Indians. I'm black, I'm Guyanese, I'm West Indian. I'm African, I'm Guyanese, I'm Caribbean. And nobody will take that away from me. I want you all to sleep on this conversation over the weekend, because next week we're going to be doing it. We're going to get in deeper into this thing. We're getting deep into it next week. If white people are telling we black man are being discriminated in Guyana and we still talking nonsense, then we deserve what we get. And I know we don't deserve what we get. So we got to get up and get. We got to get up and get. Have a nice weekend. See you all bright and early Monday.